Greetings, YouTubers and Pink Floyd fans alike. Alright, in this video I'm going to review their Pink Floyd's fourth studio album and the last one to come out in the 60s. That came out in late 1969, Ummagumma, which is half a live album and half a studio album. I guess, let's see, with the live album portion, they did two songs from their first album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and then the other two songs that they did for their live portion was two songs from their second studio album, A Saucer Full of Secrets. And the first one, basically the first song choice they decided to use for the live album was Syd Barrett's version of Astronomy to Mine, which is the first song which is the very first track on the debut album, Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Then after that, it's another track from the album called Careful with That Axe, Eugene. And that one also includes the likes of David Gilmour as well. I guess I'll go ahead and say that the next song is the Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, which was written by Roger Waters, and is actually the only song, at least album-wise, to feature all five members of Pink Floyd on one track together. And again, this was a live album recorded like around the same day as Careful with That Axe, Eugene, A Saucer Full of Secrets, as well as Astronomy to Mine was filmed like around a week before that. And again, the last song that they used for their live album portion was A Saucer Full of Secrets. The live album actually gets the live album half actually gets a lot of praise, and I can kind of agree with it. When I first listened to it, I thought it was actually a pretty good live album. It's not that I don't like live album, I just don't usually listen to them. But this one was actually a pretty good live album to listen to. The songs were pretty good. Granted, the smallest song is just a little over 8.5 minutes, whereas the longest song on there is just under 13 minutes long. So, I mean, with that being said, they definitely didn't feel like 8 to 9 to 12 minute long songs, and they actually kind of felt more easier to listen to, if not kind of reminded me how easy it was to listen to said albums from their respective studio albums, or from said songs from their respectful studio albums. Like I said, with aside from me liking it, a lot of other critics and fans actually like this portion of the album, and it's actually enjoyable to listen to, even for people like me that don't listen to live albums, or even if you don't like live albums. This is definitely one of the Pink Floyd albums that are live albums, even though it's not one of the first ones they made, or one of their only ones they made, sorry. Like I said, I just found it rather enjoyable. However, their second, because Ummagumma is a double album, their second album in the mix is basically a bunch of solo songs made by each of the four artists, Richard Wright, Roger Waters, David Gilmour, and Nick Mason, in that order. There's a total of 5 songs on this version of the album, and I guess I can kind of agree with a lot of people. Again, like how I agreed with them with the live album, I can kind of agree with them with this portion of the studio album part, and even the band members for that matter. It just doesn't seem. It's not a whole band unless you have all of them in here, or at least this early into their careers. It doesn't seem like a whole band. It seems like 1/4 of a whole band, each working on an individual song. The first song in the mix is the 4-parter Sassafras by Richard Wright, and it's like 13.5 minutes long. And I don't know if it's really more of the Google Play, where I listened to the album for, if that was what affected the songs or not, but at least when I listened to it on Google Play, the 4-parter, like, I actually knew when the 4-parters happened, unless that was intentional by Richard Wright. But, I mean, it's not that bad of instrumental, but I don't know, I definitely felt like it could have been better. I definitely, like I'll say beforehand, I definitely don't dislike any of the songs on this album. They're just very, lack of a better word, lackluster. But surprisingly enough, I can currently say at the moment that it's probably my second favorite album out of their first four albums, out of the albums that came out in the 1960s. It would be, I guess, my top four, or my four, if I were to rank the four that came out in the 60s for Pink Floyd, it'd be A Saucer Full of Secrets, definitely. At the moment, like I said, Ummagumma, then their album War, and then their debut album Piper at the Gates of Dawn. But again, it's not really a bad instrumental song, you know, because they're known for their long ones, and Richard Wright's isn't definitely a bad one, but you can definitely tell when the parts transition to the next part, and it just feels empty. Like, it seems like there could be other stuff there. Okay, the next two songs were actually by Roger Waters, and they were called Manchester Meadows, and the next song was called Several Species of Small Furry Animals Gathered Together in a Cave and Grooving with a Pick. Both of which I actually really enjoy those songs. Then again, I'm a Roger Waters fan more than anything, but I was going into this album with an open mind for all four artists, and needless to say, the two Roger Waters songs are definitely the best two songs on this portion of the album. David Gilmour's three-parter, The Narrow Way, comes in a close second, like very close second, which I guess kind of mimics their future in the dominant eras that they were both in. And I would say Richard Wright was probably my least favorite, if I can remember correctly. And my third favorite would probably be Nick Mason's songs, or Nick Mason's three-parter song, the Grand Visor's Garden Party, with part one, the entrance, part two, entertainment, and part three, exit. Like I said, they all sound like, aside from Roger Waters' songs, and even David Gilmour admitted that he was trying to ask for Roger Waters for help for his solo song, and then David Gilmour just decided to just bullshit his way through that, his words. Aside from Roger Waters' songs, they all feel kind of lackluster, except for, with the exception, I guess, for David Gilmour. His sounds like they could kind of spin on their own, but at the same time, not as highly as it could have been, or not as highly as the other songs on the album. Let alone Roger Waters' two songs on the album. Like I said, none of the five songs are bad songs, but for the likes of Richard, Nick, and David, it definitely sounds like there could have been something there, and it was definitely came out of David Gilmour's mouth that there could have been something there. And over time, it came to the point that all four of the artists ended up hating this album, and some even saying that this was the least favorite or their worst album that they made in their discography. Like I said, I think it actually stands better than at least the likes of maybe More and definitely the Piper at the Gates of Dawn. But aside from the live part of the album, it definitely sounds like, again, it sounds like there could have been something there for those other songs, and it sounds very lackluster. Although, on the other hand, I would recommend it because it's great for the Pink Floyd discography and the history of Pink Floyd. And even though they're lackluster songs, they are, like I said, good songs, and they're definitely not the worst Pink Floyd songs out there. Even though I really, at the moment, couldn't really rank to see which ones would be Pink Floyd's worst songs, but I doubt any of them would have appeared on this album. It is a good album. It's a weak album at that, but it's definitely a good one. It's, like I said, it's not their worst album, or it's definitely not my least favorite album from them. So, and again, I would highly recommend it to anybody that likes live albums, because it's definitely a great live album soundtrack, live album. And if you want to hear how each of the four artists just sound individually way early on into their careers, like knowing that David Gilmour, Nick Mason, and Roger Waters, at least the three of them, they each ended up doing individual albums that received their own kind of success, even though they weren't nearly as successful as Pink Floyd's albums. It's a great way to see how each of them kind of had their own stepping stones years before they actually did stuff on their own. It was a great, prototype album for that sense. And again, it's definitely just a decent historical Pink Floyd album that not a lot of people know about, because most people only know about their albums from The Dark Side of the Moon onward. Nobody really knows about these albums, the first 7 that I've gone through, except for maybe Piper at the Gates of Dawn, but that's mainly possibly because it's the only album that has Syd Barrett in it. But just a final recap, good album. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 9 at an 8 out of 10 at the moment, so a very shy 80%, maybe even a 75% to be honest. At the time, my second favorite out of their 60s portion of the albums. And for any Pink Floyd fan, or for any live album fan, or for anybody that likes to see people work on their own, as if they're as if they're branching out, kind of like how Kiss did with their 1978 albums. I would recommend any of that or all of that to anybody that's interested in that for this album. With that being said, I hope everybody has a good rest of the day. I hope you enjoy your other Pink Floyd albums, and I guess I'll see you next video when I review their 5th studio album, and the one that really starts getting into their relaxed element, or at least one of the albums before they get into the relaxed element, Atomic Heart Mother. Peace out and have a good one.